It was the third day after the crucifixion. The city of Jerusalem was still trembling, and two broken men walked away from it all, carrying nothing but grief, confusion, and shattered hope. This is the story of the road to Emmaus, a story about what happens when God walks beside you, and you don't even know it. 3 days had passed since the most horrifying weekend of their lives. Jesus of Nazareth, the man they believed would redeem Israel, had been arrested, tried, mocked, beaten, and nailed to a cross. He had died in front of a crowd. He had been buried behind a sealed stone, and every dream they had carried for 3 years had been buried with him. Their names were Cleopas and an unnamed companion. They were not among the 12 apostles. They were ordinary followers, men who had listened to Jesus teach, watched him heal, and believed with all their hearts that he was the one. Now, they were walking 7 miles to a village called Emmaus. 7 miles of silence, 7 miles of grief, 7 miles of asking the same question over and over. How could this have happened? As they walked, they talked about everything that had happened. They relived the arrest, the trial, the crucifixion. They had heard strange reports that morning, that some women had gone to the tomb at sunrise and found it empty. The women claimed to have seen angels who said Jesus was alive. But the disciples who ran to check the tomb found nothing, only empty linen cloths lying on the ground. What were they supposed to do with that? Hope felt too dangerous now, too painful. So they walked, and they talked, and they tried to make sense of the senseless. And then someone joined them. A stranger fell into step beside them on the road. He walked with them. He listened, and then he asked a simple question. What are you discussing together as you walk along? The two men stopped in their tracks. Cleopas looked at the stranger with a face full of disbelief. Are you the only visitor to Jerusalem who does not know the things that have happened there in these days? The stranger simply asked, What things? And so they told him everything. About Jesus of Nazareth, a prophet powerful in word and deed before God and all the people. About how the chief priests and rulers handed him over to be sentenced to death. About how he was crucified. And then, in one of the saddest sentences in all of Scripture, Cleopas said, But we had hoped that he was the one to redeem Israel. We had hoped. Past tense. Hope in a grave. Have you ever been there? Have you ever prayed so hard for something, believed so deeply for someone, only to watch it fall apart? That is where these men were, and that is exactly where Jesus met them. The stranger's response was not what they expected. He did not offer comfort. He did not say, I'm so sorry. Instead, he said, and these words have echoed through centuries, O foolish ones, and slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have spoken. Was it not necessary that the Christ should suffer these things and enter into his glory? Slow of heart to believe, not slow of mind, not unintelligent, slow of heart, because sometimes the hardest place to carry faith is not in your head, but in your heart when everything around you screams that God has failed. And then the stranger did something extraordinary. Beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he explained to them what was said in all the scriptures concerning himself. Think about that for a moment. Every prophecy, every foreshadowing, every promise, the Passover lamb, Isaiah 53, the suffering servant, Psalm 22, the bronze serpent lifted in the wilderness. It had all been pointing to this moment. The cross was not a tragedy. It was not a failure. It was the plan, written before the foundation of the world. And somewhere on that dusty road, as the stranger spoke, something began to stir inside them. Something warm, something alive. They arrived at Emmaus as the sun was beginning to set. The stranger walked as though he were going further. But the two disciples urged him strongly, Stay with us, for it is toward evening and the day is now far spent. Isn't that beautiful? They didn't want him to leave. They didn't fully understand who he was yet, but something about this man made them want more. Something in his words had lit a fire they hadn't felt in days. So the stranger agreed. He came in. He stayed with them. They sat down together at the table. And then, the stranger did something only a host would do. He took the bread. He gave thanks. He broke it. And he gave it to them. In that moment, their eyes were opened. Not slowly, not gradually. In an instant, they knew. This was Jesus. The nail marks in his hands. The way he broke the bread, exactly as he had at the Last Supper. Exactly as he had when he fed 5,000 on a hillside. It was him. It was him. It was him. And then he vanished from their sight. They stared at each other, speechless. And then one of them said what both were feeling. Did not our hearts burn within us while he talked to us on the road, while he opened to us the scriptures? Our hearts burned. That warmth they had felt, that stirring they couldn't explain, it was not emotion. It was not nostalgia. It was the presence of the risen Lord walking beside them. He had been there the whole time, in the middle of their grief, in the middle of their confusion, in the middle of their doubt. Jesus was there. He is always there. They didn't wait until morning. They didn't finish their meal. They got up that very hour, in the dark, on a 7-mile road, and they ran back to Jerusalem. Because you cannot have an encounter with the risen Jesus and keep it to yourself. You cannot be transformed and stay silent. The same road they had walked in grief, they now ran in joy. The same 7 miles of despair became 7 miles of proclamation. Everything had changed. They found the 11 apostles gathered together, along with others who had been with them. Before they could even share their story, the others burst out. The Lord has risen indeed, and has appeared to Simon. And then the two from Emmaus told their story, how Jesus had appeared to them on the road, and how he was made known to them in the breaking of the bread. The resurrection was not a rumor. It was a fact confirmed by witness after witness. He is risen. The road to Emmaus is not just a story from 2,000 years ago. It is your story. It is my story. There are roads we all walk, roads of disappointment, of grief, of unanswered prayer, of dreams that seem to have been buried. And on every one of those roads, there's a stranger who falls into step beside us. He listens. He speaks. He opens the word. And if we will invite him in, if we will say, "Stay with me, Lord, for the day is far spent," he will reveal himself. He will make our hearts burn. He has been walking with you this whole time. You just haven't recognized him yet. If today you are on a road of grief, if you are walking away from your broken hopes, hear this. The same Jesus who walked beside Cleopas and his companion is walking beside you right now. He is not distant. He is not absent. He is risen. He is present. And he is near. Open your heart to him today. Invite him to stay. Let your eyes be opened at the breaking of the bread. He is alive, and he is enough.